I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Justin Davis. Please do hit the like and subscribe button and make a comment down below if you'd like to win this one coming up at the end of January. I'm going to give this one away on the channel probably the first week or maybe the first week of February, sometime around then. I'll announce it right here on the channel, so please do subscribe, and somebody is luckily going to get this one on the channel. If you also comment, your comment will also count for the drawing on January 2nd coming up for the Tiny Hawk and the HDLRC 6S Mephisto race quads. Super awesome combo, giving away both of those on the channel as well. So this is be a great video for you to possibly win something, and share it with a friend if you know someone just getting into FPV. And also, please do support me on Patreon if you guys would like to talk behind the scenes and get to know each other. There's a huge drone camps community forming, and we have Discord chats almost daily. Lots of messages coming through on guys doing builds, and if you have questions, there's a whole ton of people that you can interact with in our community. So it's really, really growing a lot. So check out my Patreon link down below. I think you'll enjoy that a lot. But let's get started with the trash can. Let me take you outside on a flight test. We're going to do some line of sight with it as always, and some FPV, and I'll show you how it compares with the MOBULA7. Here we go.
All right, here we go. I'm in Acro mode right now, and I've already had to replace one prop because it flew off. So push props, not my favorite thing in the world, but most of the whoops do have push props. Let's check out the maneuverability of this little guy in line of sight. Look at that. It's flipping like crazy. I wish you could see this really close up. Probably like 6 flips in a row right there. The PIDs are set super high on this, so if you're gonna fly this in Acro for the first time, if you're brand new, you can dial it down a little bit, but it's really, really tight on the flip and roll, pitch and roll axis. Really good. Look at that. It's like a freaking frisbee up there. This thing is awesome. Probably the best line of sight whoop that I've ever flown, and that's no bull. I mean, you can see it right here. This thing is fast, and it recovers instantly from any type of flip, which is what we're looking for in a 2S whoop. So performance is going to be 5 stars with this quad right away, and we'll see how it holds up as far as durability wise when we do the FPV test. But right now it's really responsive. It's almost like a single rotor heli. This thing is so locked in, and I'll show you when we're flying it if there is any type of vibrations, if the stock tune on here is good. Really nice quad. So let's go ahead and put it down now, and we will do some FPV with this little trash can. Why they name it a trash can, nobody knows. Here we go.
All right, here we go to the top of these Evergreens. Man, these things are so tall, and they're so fun to dive with a whoop because they're so light. You can kind of pick which way you want to go through the branches coming back down. It's a lot of fun. I saw a little bit of jello in that descent right there. And now we're just going to check out some of the low light performance of this camera. The Cadex is really, really good underneath the tree canopy. I'm able to see in the shadows. There is quite a bit of dark and light underneath there, and it's catching up with the darks pretty quick. When I come back into the shadows, it does really kind of come back around, and I can see well enough to avoid all the ghost branches in here. And going around some more trees right there. It is a ton of fun in here. There are a few guys out playing frisbee golf, and I was talking to those guys, and this quad is so small, no one really cares, because when you're out with something that flies like 30 grams small, really no one minds. It is a super small quad, but look how much range I have with 200 milliwatt versus 25 milliwatt. If it went way up like that with the Tiny Hawk, it would have started breaking up really bad up there. And back by my car right there, it has a nice snap and roll rate. The rates are set to around 75 or 80, I believe, in beta flight, so it's pretty high on the rate modes. If you want to dial it down, if you're a new person just learning Acro, you can dial it back to about 55 or 60 and really have a whole different experience. It'll be a lot softer flying for you. But the way they have it tuned, it's more of an intermediate tune on this quad for Acro. But look at that. Look how tight and snappy this quad is. And I'm going to try something like a Matty flip around these trees and try not to hit the concrete. coming in close right there, down, and I have enough motor to save myself. These 0803 motors are zippy, they're fast, they're responsive, and quick on the throttle, back around these trees. And for racing, this could be an absolute whoop racer. If you want to race other people with this quad, you could definitely do that. The multi-GP micro races are going to be hot this year. This guy had no idea we were coming there. Yep, a 35-gram quad coming right up on your tail and back around the trees, and do a little bit of slalom under these trees. And this is fun because this quad, you can find a lot of really small gaps. You wouldn't do this on a 3-inch or a 5-inch quad. You'll have much larger consequences if you crash with those quads. These just kind of tend to bounce off branches, and sometimes you see the camera go crazy and you can kind of pull out of things if you just keep a little bit of throttle, and you'll end up recovering, which is kind of wild. Just coming in close to that treetop. These remind me of Dr. Seuss trees. These are really cool looking trees. I'm not sure what those are called. Little orbit and a flip over my dome, and I'm all done with the FPV. I love this quad. Let's take it into the studio. All right, guys, that's it. That was my flying experience with the trash can, and I still have no idea why they call it a trash can. It's kind of crazy, but it did get everybody talking about it, and that's what we're doing right now. We're talking about the trash can, and a lot of people want to compare this to the MOBULA7. Is it a MOBULA7? It actually might be, because this one came back from the flight test without being torn to pieces. It has all kinds of extra reinforcements in here. It also has evenly spaced struts around the prop guards on each side, and 2 spacers out on each end, and reinforcements also in the middle of the frame here. Now the MOBULA7 frame, look at this. This looks like a trash can, and this looks like something that survived a drone camp's test. Yeah, this is doing a lot better than the MOBULA7. I love the MOBULA7. Might have been one of the best 2S whoops at the end of 2018. And here comes along the trash can with larger motors, better camera. It has a standalone VTX up to 200 milliwatt on here. The motors are actually 0803. The Mobula motors are 0802, just a little bigger motor. They motored up a little bit, so you get a little bit better throttle response, and it's quite a bit faster on 2S. They also added some pretty cool LEDs on the back. These LEDs right here, they kind of pulsate back and forth, and if you look really closely, there's actually a little trash can on the back. I love that. I think that is the coolest detail. Never seen anything like that, but it's like a little trash can icon opening up on the back. And it seems like they're running out of names in China. What should we call this one? Oh, let's call it a trash can. And yeah, it has no correlation to a trash can, but I like the way it looks on the top of the frame. It's kind of similar to the Mobula, but it has more venting and ventilation in top of it, and it also has maybe a little better camera tilt to camera angle on the top of this one. And one thing that I didn't like about it, if you look really closely at this quad on the very top, the screws. The screws drive me crazy. If you buy this quad, you better have a super tiny eyeglasses type screwdriver, because these screws are ridiculously tiny. I don't know if I have any left in the Mobula to show you, but the Mobula screws were easier to get out. You can see they're just a little bit bigger profile where the Phillips head goes in, and these are just micro screws. So what that also means is taking this top on and off is a big pain in the ASS. Once you get it off, also the standalone VTX, which I really like, which is also up to 200 milliwatt, which is what you really want on a 2S whoop, it is floating on these risers, which is totally fine, but the screws are really long. They have to go all the way through the risers down to the frame, and getting all 3 of them back on there will take you over 10 minutes probably to get just the first screw started. It is a real pain. One other thing I noticed about this one is that it did lose a prop, and I did hit a tree, but the prop flew off and I never found the prop. So these are push-on props, and I believe these were around 40 millimeters. And also, guys, this one's compatible with different radio receivers. You can get one that has Spectrum DSM2, DSMX. I believe they also have one for FlySky. And this one's the FrSky version, which has that built-in FrSky receiver built right into the flight controller. On the bottom here, there is, on the very bottom of the flight controller, there's an antenna that comes off, and that antenna is right here. And just somewhere right in the middle right there is where that bind button is. It should be the button over to the left on this side from the USB port right there. And this button over here, I believe, was the boot button. I'll have to look at the schematic a little bit later, but this frame was decent, it's durable, and it survived a crash straight into a concrete pole. I was flying full throttle and I tried to go in between like a little tiny sign and this concrete pole, and I just smashed the pole. Of course, that is the reviewer's luck, and I didn't make it out of that too bad, actually. I had a little bit of damage on the front of that prop guard, and that's about it right there. Let me just get that to focus for you. But you'll be able to see there's tiny little scratches right there. That's where I hit a concrete pole. So it came home in one piece, and there's a couple of little scratches up here. And this is the other thing. The camera is very well protected in this frame. Look at that. It is almost impossible to break this camera unless you really did nail it straight on. You might break the lens, but it did not pop out of the frame. As hard as I hit this, you can see some scratches on the very top right here. I smacked that concrete pole with it, and it's still intact, and the screws didn't break off on the sides either. So I think they have something going with this frame here, and I have to give the frame an overall rating of 5 stars because it actually made it home in one piece. Now this one feels probably just as durable, but it doesn't protect the camera quite as well. You can see the camera sticks out all the way out the front right there. So my choice in the canopy part for the top of the quad would definitely be on the trash can. The only thing I don't like, I guess, is the screws that go into it. Those are kind of really sucky to get on and off. But one thing else I noticed, that they do include that connector. You can make it a 1S or a 2S quad. You can stack 2 of your batteries in there. And I also put a piece of the fuzzy Velcro in there to keep the batteries from falling out. A lot of my crashes, the batteries flew out of this compartment. So what they did with this is they actually made it just a little bit larger than I believe what they had on the Mobula. You can see the Mobula one here versus the trash can. See how much taller this one is? This is to accommodate a 2S 300 milliamp. So if you wanted to run an XT30 on the back, I almost said XT60, but that's for the 5-inch quads. The XT30 is usually for the micro brushless, and this can handle an XT30 style connector. So if you do have those 2S 300 milliamps, you can use those batteries on the trash can. So I think overall, everything they have chosen to put on this frame is better than the MOBULA7. Yeah, this would be my choice. If I was going to buy this or the MOBULA7, I would definitely say buy the trash can. One thing that was a real big turnoff about this one, however, when I first put it up in the air and several times afterwards, I was hitting these wires on the side right here that stuck out, and I kept having to kind of cram them back in the frame a little bit. There's a whole bunch of wires right there. You might have to want to take this top off and secure those wires a little bit better, because when you first start your quad up, if you hear some buzzing, it's that hitting the wires. And also I put a piece of paper underneath the camera because I was getting a lot of jello under here. So the way that this is floating on the front right here, it is susceptible to vibration and creating jello in your camera. So one thing to think about there, if you have to put some type of heavy, like dense foam underneath this, maybe some VHB, just stack up a little piece under there and hold it a little more steady, you're going to get way less jello. So that might be one small type of mod that you have to make with this one. I didn't notice that quite as much with the Mobula, so that's probably one point deduction on the trash can. But I think this one is definitely way funner than the Tiny Hawk. But again, this is kind of a different animal. This is more of a 1S indoor, mild outdoor quad. This one is going to rip just about anywhere you take it. And the best thing about this, guys, aside from the CAT-X, the extra durable frame, the awesome flying performance out of it, is the fact that this one has a 200 milliwatt transmitter on here, 25 or 200. So that beats out the Emax Tiny Hawk in range and for penetration around trees and things like that. So if you want to be able to fly around trees and go do power loops around trees and things, this one has 25 milliwatt. So MOBULA7 is only rocking 25, trash can's rocking 200. That would be our choice as far as video transmitters go on a 2S Whoop. And as far as price comparison goes, guys, the trash can again is winning. $89 right now on pre-order, And I believe there's a coupon that I can put down below that they just sent me last night in my email. So I'll try to share that with you guys as well. And the Tiny Hawk's coming in around $99 and also really hard to get. And the MOBULA7, I believe it was around $96. So yeah, I would probably save $6 and order this one instead. But let's go ahead and turn on the scale. Let me show you the dry weight on the quad, and then I'll put some batteries on there. So we're looking at right around 33.9 grams. That's going to be the dry weight without batteries. And the trash can also came with a little bit better batteries than what the MOBULA7 came with. It comes with 300 milliamp per hour batteries, and these are also HVs. The Mobula batteries were HVs, but they were 250s. They were 250 milliamps. So let's go ahead and put those two on there, and we'll see where we're at. Turn the scale back on. Did a little timeout there. So we're looking at 49.6 grams. And the battery that came along with the MOBULA7 was actually this one right here. This is the Happy model. 250 milliamp, and they're both HV, but you get a 300 milliamp with the Eachine, and you get 4 of these in your box. You get a little case along with the trash can. And this is the case that comes along with your trash can with the Eachine logo on the outside with a little grab handle and a zipper around the sides. And it comes with this printout, which looks like a Xerox printout of the binding procedures, your VTX instructions with all your channels and bands. It looks like we have about 48 channels with what looks like 6 different bands, including race band, which is cool. It also has Tyrannus binding instructions. And since it is that built-in SPI receiver, it says that it's compatible with D8 or D16 mode, and actually I was only able to get mine to work and respond to my sticks on D16 mode. So if you have a Tyrannus, I would probably go for D16 anyway. It's just a little bit better resolution on your sticks. And you also have some information on here about hooking it up inside Betaflight, what to do in there, and you have smart audio on here as well, so you can use your sticks, go in and change the power, the bands, the frequency, and all that stuff right there inside the OSD on the quad. So you don't really have to get in there and start pressing buttons on this one, which is also really nice. So inside the box you do get 4 batteries with it, which I think is a pretty good value. And these are the accessories that come along with it. I got that little short plug right here. It's going to go on one side and make it a 1S quad. And they also gave us an extra lead for an XT30, which is really cool. If you want to run those 2S 300 milliamps or 450s, maybe you could slide a 450 in there possibly. You also get a couple extra pieces of what looks to be like foam 3M rubber. And you get one little tiny Allen wrench, some extra hardware, and a couple little tiny screwdrivers. And I felt like this screwdriver was just a little bit, even the smallest one here was just a little bit too big to fit these screws. It kept falling off the screw, which also kind of drove me a little bit crazy. But I think for $89, we have a huge winner here. And let's go ahead and give it a star rating and summarize the review for you guys. So there you have it, the top 3 whoops probably in the world right now. Even though this one is a 1S, it's probably still in the top 3, mainly because it is super popular, it's fun to fly, and it really does have a decent flight time on the 1S 450 that it's compatible with. With that little 2.0 connector here, I was getting close to over 4 minutes with the 1S 450 on this quad. So this one is a lot of fun. This one is still a really good bet for 2019. And if you want something as far as performance-wise, I would suggest the Trashcan over the MOBULA7. The MOBULA7 was definitely one of my top favorites out there, and as you saw in the Best of 2019 video, this one made the #1 choice. And wow, I wish this one was out when I made that video, because now it looks like we have a new king of micros right here. The Trashcan is pretty awesome. One thing that they need to work out maybe on the next version 2 is making sure that everyone that gets one of these doesn't have any type of jello in their cameras. That's one star minus that we're going to do on this review. So I think an overall fun factor is definitely a 5 out of 5. Durability is going to be 5 out of 5 for me. And the overall star rating for this Trashcan is definitely going to be like a 4.8. Very high scoring quad on the channel, and I think it's worth the pre-order. If you get this one, you're going to love flying it, and you're probably not going to break it, which is one of the the best things that can happen to you buying something Eachine out of China. Whenever you buy something Eachine, sometimes I'm just expecting that the stuff is going to be cheap, it's going to break, but Eachine is turning a new corner. What they've done recently, and I was talking to a friend of mine about this, they're actually starting to put name brand cameras and VTXs and motor components and other types of things from around the industry, from the FPV community, that they know that they like. So they're trying to make a better name for themselves, which I think is great, because a few years ago when you bought something Eachine, you get just a black FPV camera and it had no name on there. It was just really all generic. But now they're actually moving up and stepping up and starting to use things like CADX, and I think we're going to see better things from Eachine in 2019, so I'm pretty excited about that. But if you'd like to win this one, guys, be sure to make that comment down below, and I'll get you entered to win that drawing coming up probably by the end of January. I'm going to announce a date on that. It's probably going to be around the week of February 2nd or so. So stay tuned on the channel, and please do support me on my Patreon as well. If you guys would like more information, we do a lot of chats behind the scenes, and we do a lot of Discord chats as well. So thanks again for watching, you guys. I'm Justin Davis. This has been the Eachine Trash Can. Take care. I'll see you on the next one.